Hello my beauties and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do it was a requested video and then I let it slide for a little bit, so I am only getting around to doing this video now, and apologies for that, but it is a video on my Real Technique brushes. I get asked quite frequently which ones I use the most, what I use them for, the prices of them and where you can get them. So let's talk about Real Techniques. Let's talk about what's unique. Let's talk about all the brushes and all the goodness for you and me. Ha. So anyway, I'm going to no longer annoy you with my intro and get into the video. So first off, I want to just say apologies for the dirt of some of these brushes. These are all going for a deep clean tonight. I usually wait till all my brushes are filthy before I start cleaning them all, or usually what happens is I end up running out of clean brushes, so I'm forced to clean my brushes. But I just want to talk about the three different groups or three different coloured handles that are on the Real Techniques brushes. So first of all, let's take one of my long blonde hairs off them and let's start with the bronze brushes. So these are basically the face brushes. Oh, and just as well, if you weren't aware that all these brushes were created by Samantha Chapman, she is one half of Pixie Woo, and I must say that Samantha did a great job when designing these brushes because they are fantastic. Anyway, I have 5 different brushes. 4 of these came in a set, so these 4 came in a set, and this one here came on its own. So the one that came on its own is called the Expert Face Brush. You guys have seen me use this a ton of times. I use this for my foundation. They're what are described as like your base brushes basically, and what you apply your foundation, concealer, etc. with. So these next 4 brushes came in a set called the Core Collection. You get the contour brush, you get the detailed brush, which is really small, I don't even know if you can see that. You get pointed foundation brush, and you also get the buffing brush. So these brushes do not have to be used on your core or on your face. They don't have to be used as a foundation basis. You can use them on your eyes, you can use them with powder products. One of the major advantages to Real Techniques brushes is that they're synthetic hairs. Some people think synthetic, they think cheap, but that is not necessarily the case with these brushes. These are quite densely packed brushes, so there is tons of bristles in there. They do not shed. I just find they are great for liquid products, so that would be one of the major advantages of Real Techniques. Liquid products go on amazingly well with these. Now, the contour brush is a brush that I find many different uses for, in particular just getting a start on different uses for the brushes. I use that for contouring, but I can also use it to buff out foundation. If I'm applying a little bit of concealer under my eyes, I can use it for that purpose too. When it comes to the buffing brush, again, I use that for just foundation. And then the last 2 brushes I use for concealer only, so I have never used them with any other products. So the first one is the detailed brush, like I explained, and the pointed foundation brush, and I use them both for concealer. I just find they're great at getting underneath the eye area, or if you want to apply it to a blemish. The next brushes I want to talk about, guys, are the pink handled brushes. Now these brushes are the ones that I use mostly with powdered products. So they're not designed for that, they're designed for a number of different things, but I just happened to use powder products with them. 2 of the brushes that you would see quite regularly in my collection, or me using them all the time, would be the setting brushes. I use them for 2 different things. One, I use them for setting under eye concealer with powder, and then another purpose I use it for is for highlighting the face and over the cupid's bow. And I find that these are just so good at getting into the little nooks and crannies on your faces, because I have more than one face, but they're just really easy to get underneath the eye and to pat product on, because they are flat, as you can see from the side. They're not rounded or anything like that, they're completely flat, so you can actually pack on product a little bit better with them. So that's what I use them brushes for. The next brush is your blush brush, which I don't think I've ever used blush with this brush. So the first thing I would use this brush for would be to bronze up the tops of my forehead, and after you kind of go in with a more detailed brush, I will use that to kind of like feather everything out. And I would also use it on my cheeks just to kind of remove any harsh lines and just kind of buff everything in. So that's what I use that one for. Another purpose I use it for is mineral foundation. If I'm using a mineral foundation or a powder foundation, I will use this to apply it. And I also use it for applying products down my neck or onto a larger area, like just my collarbone area or anything like that. If I'm applying bronzer or anything, I use this brush, or the larger parts of my face and neck. The final brush in the Pink Candle collection is called the stippling brush, and I use this again for two different purposes. One, I can use it for applying blush if I just want to pack on a little bit of blush onto my cheeks. I find that this is great because it just kind of feathers it on. Or I use it for foundation. So they're the two purposes I have for that brush. So as you can see, you don't have to use them for their designed purpose. You can use them for loads of different things. And like I said, cream products are great with these brushes because they're synthetic. That's why I use cream blusher with this in particular. I just feel like it gives it a nice feathered out appearance and it doesn't lift off any of my foundation underneath. The last set of brushes are the purple handed brushes, and these are again designed for the eye. You don't necessarily have to use them. Now these will be the collection, or these will be the brushes that I would have the most of. 5 of them came in one collection, so I'll show you them 5 now. So you have your pixel pointed eye brush, which is just, I don't know if you can see that one, but it's really tapered little handle or little brush on the top. The next one is the accent brush, which I have a multitude of purposes for that, which I'll go into in a second. The second one is the brow brush. The next one is the base shadow brush. And then the final one is called the deluxe crease brush. So the first one I don't use all that much, but I would use it for applying some gel eyeliner into the waterline. That's the only thing I ever really use that for. The next brush in that collection that I was talking about was the accent brush. I use this for a ton of different things. So the first thing I use it for is as a lip brush. I use it to fill in any lip products. If I'm using a dark lip, I would go in with it, or if I'm doing makeup on other people, I find that this brush is the best one to use. The second use I have for it is for applying eyeshadow just underneath the eye, just onto my lower lash line. I don't want to kind of like over smudge my eyeshadow. The third use I have for it is just applying black along the base of my eyelashes. If I just want to get right in there with like a black eyeshadow or something like that, I will use it. So I'll close down my eye naturally and just go in with that onto the base where my eyelashes grow from. I use this for concealer. I also use this to apply eyeshadow to the inner corners of my eyes or underneath my brow bone too, because it is so detailed and fine, and I just love getting into those little nooks and crannies with that. The next brush I only use for one purpose, and that's the brow brush, and I have used it only as an eyebrow brush. So I use it with powder products to apply my powder products to my eyebrow. I have used it once before to do a wing, and I didn't find that it did it very good. It's too thick of a brush, there's too many hairs in it, so I didn't find it gave me a crisp enough line, so I didn't use it again for that purpose. The next one is the base shadow brush, which I use to blend eyeshadow out on the crease, and I just kind of, you know, blend products with it. I also use it to apply shadow to those areas, so when I'm blending out I will use it initially to pack on the product and then blend it out with the same brush. And the final one is the deluxe crease brush, which I only ever use for concealer. So I do find that this works quite well with concealer. I just don't always gravitate towards it. That's the problem with it. I also have used this previously for applying cream bases onto the eyelid. I think it's perfect for that job. I don't think it is good for the, you know, being a crease brush, you know, because my crease is not that big. So this brush is just going to apply product way too far up into my eye, and I just don't use it for that purpose. So cream products on the lid is what it is the best for, in my opinion. And the last two brushes I have from the eye collection, 2 of them are the same. They are the shading brushes, and then the last one is the silicone liner brush. I absolutely adore this. So I don't know if you'll be able to see that. It is so tiny and it is silicone, so it's completely bendy like that. Again, the only thing I use this for is applying liner to wing out my eyeliner. I find that this works amazing. You have a lot of control over it, and I find that it doesn't skip like a brush will sometimes. You know the way sometimes a brush will skip and you'll be left with kind of lines or like empty spaces on your eyelid. I find that that doesn't do it, and it's really, really creamy. The only problem is you must clean it every time you use it, because it won't work the second time around if there's a build up of product on it. Sometimes you can get away with using a brush twice, but definitely not one of these. And then the last brush that I talked to you about is the shading brush, and I use it for just that. I use one of these all the time to apply cream shadows to the eyes, so underneath the brow bone or into the inner corner, and then I use one of them for packing eyeshadow onto the lid. I always use these for some reason when I'm using coloured eyeshadows as well. One thing I never use this brush for is pigments. The reason why is because it's not completely flat. I don't know if you can see that, but it is a thick brush. There's lots of bristles in it, so it's not easy to flatten it down. So when I'm picking up pigment, it kind of scatters them everywhere. They kind of become loose and fly all over the place, falls down my face and everything. So I just don't find that these do very well with pigments, but with everything else they are amazing, and I really recommend them. So one reason I absolutely adore Real Techniques is because it is so readily available. You can buy them in most booths. I think they're kind of venturing into more shops now at the moment. You can get them in a lot of pharmacies. I've seen them in tons of different places. They're really readily available. You can buy them online as well, which is great. Another thing I like about Real Techniques is they are synthetic brushes, like I explained before, so they work really well with wet products. They're also quite affordable, and you can get them in sets. If you've never tried any of the Real Techniques brush, I would recommend the core brushes to start off with, because they're going to be your base brushes, so you're going to get the best kind of foundation effect from using something like that. I just find that they buff in your foundation really well. Also, another set I would recommend would be the eye set that I showed you earlier. The five, I'll get the names of them and I'll link them down below, because there's two big bunches of brushes that you get, and I think they're like €22 or something each. So you're getting, like, for €44 you're getting like nearly, what, 9 brushes, and they're going to be like the majority of the brushes that you're going to use on an everyday basis. So if you want, I can do a tutorial on how I use each and every one of the brushes. So if you want, you can write that in the description down below, or in the comments below rather. So guys, I hope you found this video really interesting, or if there's any other information about Real Techniques that I didn't include in this, I will link you to the Real Techniques website down below as well, and if there's any other questions, just ask me in the comment section. So thanks so much guys for watching, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye!